First, I want to welcome everybody to Brotherhood and Greetings. We are here to talk about mental health and leadership, right? The power of mental health and leadership. I'm Chris Lambert. I'm the host and moderator of our little Fireside chat. And I want to start by introducing Candace Ellis. So Candace is the reason we're all here. She got a long list of accolades. And if you want to see them, come see me. I won't read them out. But, here's what I will say. She has a deep commitment to helping others in the community thrive. And that's the reason we're all here. So without further ado, I want to introduce our organizer, Candace.
So I have my talking points so I don't miss anything. So, hello. All right, so I have my talking points, so we look and we don't judge. If I look at my card. But good evening and welcome and thank you for being here this evening. Still can't hear me? Have to.
You got to hold it close. You got to
Okay, welcome and thank you for being here this evening. You good? All right. All right, so you guys could be anywhere this evening, but you are here, and for that, I am grateful and appreciative and honored to be here for this important event where we are focused on the wellness of Black men. Your commitment to being here, despite the weather, is showing that the self-growth, the commitment to community, as well as to overall wellness, especially at a time such as this. I want to take this moment to acknowledge the organizations and the individuals that made tonight a success, including each and every one of you here. Power 365, Thomas Jackson, thank you for having us at this amazing venue with your staff. We have Rohan Brown, the chef, with the delicious food that you guys are eating this evening. We have Emmanuel Duncan behind the lens, taking pictures and videos of this evening. My wonderful staff, if it was not for you guys, I don't know where I would be. Blue Cross Blue Shield is our gold sponsor for this evening, so I thank them even though they're not here, for believing in this vision and this purpose. And last but not least, Ramsey County. So we are here today for the African American Capacity Builder Project. We are our third year in this project, so I appreciate Ramsey County giving us this opportunity to create spaces such as this, where we can gather, grow, and educate on the mental health resources that Ramsey County has to offer. I also want to pay a special appreciation to those who are not Black men in this room. So our allies and our sponsors, again, you guys being here and showing your commitment to our community. So we see you, we appreciate you, and we thank you for your continued collaboration and advocacy for us. So this event was intentionally placed this week as we are celebrating Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy. So as we are honored to continue on his vision, we also have to recognize and reflect where we are today, individually as well as collectively. The purpose is simple for this event. It was simply to create a space for Black men to connect, to learn, to be seen, to heard, and to empower. So thank you for being here. While you're here, we hope that you focus on self. We hope that you use this space as a collection of the brotherhood so that you can continue to pour into yourself and others. So thank you again, and I'm going to hand the mic to Kenya Walker of Ramsey County.
Good evening. I am Kenya Walker. I'm the Deputy Director of Mental Health for Ramsey County. We also have Dr. Fredrick, who is our Mental Health Director for our Mental Health Center. I just want to say thank you for being here. It is amazing to see such beautiful Black men in this space. I want you to know how much we appreciate you, we love you, we need you. In order for us to have strong communities, strong families, we really need you. We need your strength and your leadership. And the only way to do that is if we create space for you to take care of yourselves and know that we got you. We got your back. And so just once again, thank you for being here, and hopefully you will continue to participate in some of the events that we will sponsor for Ramsey County.
All right, like I said, the name of this fireside chat is the Power of Wellness and Leadership. So first thing I want to do is give the panelists a chance to do a short introduction. So I'm going to start over here. This is a true measure. How many people are originally from or spent a lot of time in Minnesota? Raise your hands. All right. So this is the true power of Brotherhood that we have here. Mr. Michael Floyd is a graduate of Cretin Hall. I, myself, am a graduate of St. Thomas Academy. We are lifelong high school rivals, and I'm going to let him go first. In the spirit of Brotherhood.
I went to the better school. I just want to shout out that Bald is back and we all looking good, right? You see all the Bald is back, and just to let y'all know. So y'all got a hairline going back. Come on to our side, baby. Well, my name is Michael Floyd. I grew up on the east side of St. Paul, Maryland and Arkwright. I went to Cretin Hall, graduated from there. Then I got a scholarship to play football at the University of Notre Dame. Graduated from there with a sociology degree. Then I played 8 years in the NFL, 13th pick in 2012 draft, retired in 2020. 3 kids, wife for 7 years. And I do real estate now.
How's everybody doing? My name is Stefano Sinicropi. My background, I'm actually from the Bronx, New York. My kids go to Minnehaha. They're full Minnesotans now. I've been practicing spine surgery for about 20 years. But because I've seen so much sickness, dysfunction, people getting sicker and sicker over this, over my career, decided to venture out into the health and wellness space. And along with some of my partners that are in here tonight, have sought out to create these wellness centers where people can come and get biohacking, which maybe we'll get to talk about at some point tonight, but things you guys probably have never heard of before, but should be offered across the community because it can make just a massive difference in health and wellness, but also really trying to get the message out that our current healthcare system is dysfunctional, and we really need to wake up to what is really going on, because despite the fact that we spend more in America than any other country, our population is actually getting sicker. And so I really appreciate having some of the health plans and some of these other folks that are sponsoring this, because together we have to find a better way to do it, because every chronic illness, and especially in this community, every chronic illness is on the rise, despite the fact that people are on more medications, right? More of our elderly folks are having fractures in their back, but they're on more medicines. Diabetes is up, obesity is up, everything's up. Something's wrong, and together we need to work together to make a difference. And so that's why I'm just so honored to be on the panel tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fredrick Blocton. I am a technologist by education. I'm an engineer, computer engineer by education. And all my life, over the last 45 years, has been involved in some type of digital movement in the world. Saying that, also on the opposite side of that, I've been into management and driving into management in different situations. As a Black man, which has required me to focus on my health and wellness, and especially my mental health with all of the stuff I was dealing with. So, I have been in Minnesota since '86. I have 3 beautiful daughters. I've been married 44 years. I'm 67, and I think I'm taking care of myself. a little bit about, right? But I am happy to be here, and I really want to share what I know about health and wellness, mental health, especially in the business world, and also as a Black man, given in the business world, being confronted with having to deal a lot with my mental health.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Antwan L. I am an associate professor here at the graduate school. By trade, I am a licensed mental health counselor. I've been doing this for over 10 plus years. My specialty has been working with at-risk men, but also counseling Black men. And now my focus has shifted to talking about masculinity and its role with mental health, which that we all are seeking out. So thank you, it's a pleasure to be here.
And like I said, my name is Chris Lambert. I'm the moderator for this discussion. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of a company called Advance that operates in space. We are focused on employee financial stress and reducing its impact on people and businesses. So this particular topic is close and near and dear to my heart. So I have a couple of questions to kind of get the conversation started, but really this is just a chance for us to talk about the issues that are really relevant to the issues of mental health and leadership in particular. So I'm going to start it off for everyone. So mental wellness, mental health is often a journey. Is there one particular experience or thing that's happened that's really sort of shaped how you think about and approach mental health and well-being? So if you have a quick story about like the thing that sort of really brought your attention to this issue for yourself.
Thank you. I can start that. I can say being in the profession for as long as I have been. Pre-COVID, the conversation around mental health was not held. And post-COVID, we see more of a normalization around having this conversation. Within the Black community, especially within men, there's still this stigma around talking about mental health because of a sense of vulnerability. So for myself, this is critical in seeing everyone here being willing to have this conversation and normalize this topic and being able to have peers to support one another in this journey. Whereas before, the real objective had been isolating oneself. And now we see this change in trajectory with how we view mental health. And as you indicated, mental health is not a race, it's a journey. And the more we recognize that, the more we can work on it.
I think, for me, understanding a lot of the situations I was in, and a lot of the jobs I held was, I was the only Black man there, right? And so at first I thought it was pretty normal that, I was treated the way I was, and I had to react to it, I had to be a man, I had to stand up to this stuff, right? But also I was traumatized by those situations, right? And so until I learned what I was dealing with, I was able to go back and start to unravel some of that stuff. And it wasn't on my own, it wasn't reading a book, it was actually going to a psychiatrist, right? And getting the necessary help that I needed to unravel all the things that were going on with me. And so that was just the beginning. And I've been telling you story after story after story around the trauma, right? But also what I think has been given to me by the grace of God is that I've had that education on dealing with mental health. And so every time I dealt with something, I went back to the doctor or I called my therapist or whatever, and I used that tool in order to, educate myself and be better as a human being. So what I say to you tonight is, don't play around with your mental health at all, right? Feelings are real, emotions are real, and sometimes we don't know how to deal with them. And it doesn't mean we're less of anything, right? It just means that we need to deal with it. And as Black men, it's always, well, you need to be a man or you need to stand up. Get the help you need, from a real practitioner in this field, right, of mental health.
So I would say that, collectively, mental health plays such a massive role in people suffering today, and the way I saw it is in seeing, you know, thousands of patients over my career, they were coming to me for a problem, right? A lot of you guys in this room, you don't have to tell me who you are. There's a lot of people in here that experience a lot of back and a lot of neck pain and all kinds of stuff. And for some of you in this room, it might have ruined your life for a period of time. But what becomes crystal clear is that the mental health part of it makes such a difference with the way we experience pain, with the way we do our rehab, with the type of treatments that we seek. When people are not well mentally, they tend to get sucked into the system, into the medical system, and then they become almost like prisoners of the medical system, where they're just waiting for the next, okay, when's my medication due, when's this due? But a lot of it goes back into actually the mental health problems that people don't address. Now, I'm going to take it even further than you. It's not just you guys, and it is a thing. With black males, definitely tend to get, oh, they're tough, or they don't need it, they're fine. Like, it's not really brought up, but it's also our profession. A lot of our first line medical doctors you might see, or nurses, or whoever you're seeing, they're not trying to talk to you guys about mental health and making that impact. Once again, people tend to go to the lowest hanging fruit. So it's, what medicine can I put you on? What can I refer you to? But you really need to talk to people and get to know them and understand how fixing whatever's going on here, and again, seeking professional care, doing things like meditation, breath work, yoga, positive affirmations, things that we don't get taught, right? We just don't get taught that stuff. And some of it's self-taught, some you need through professionals, can completely change people's lives. It can keep families together, right? It can heal broken homes. It could do all kinds of things. And so this is a very important topic. And if we get to it, I mean, there's so many things that are available for mental health that are not even spoken of. And so hopefully we get into some of those things tonight.
For me, with mental health, coming from the sports world, I had a great team by me, but I mean, not everything is, you know, great all the time. I've had my issues, and just having a team around me or certain individuals was the best thing for me. And ever since, you know, I don't learn anything unless I make the mistake. I think that's when you learn the most. Making your own mistakes and you understand what you can and can't do. But I would say the best thing in my life was having my wife, because that's the first woman or person that ever, you know, asked me, how am I doing? How are you feeling? I came from a family where I fell on the floor, my mom was like, oh, you're okay, you know, or your dad, get up, you know. So to have that person on my side, my wife, just to ask, you know, how I'm doing and how I'm feeling, is super important. It's super important for everyone to have someone there that you can always count on and just sit down and talk about anything with.
Can I just add one quick? No, what he just said, he just brought up, you know, I recently did a social media post just on that. And it's amazing that you have your wife, and I have an amazing wife and great kids and great, you know, I have a couple really, you know, good friends here, you know, in the group tonight. But there's an epidemic of loneliness in our community. It really is. So many people, and it might be some of you guys out here, people are lonely, and that is a killer. It's a silent killer to be lonely. It makes you sicker. Every chronic disease gets worse if you feel lonely, if you don't have that support, if you don't have people. But there are so many organizations, there's people to talk to, there's stuff, but if we don't have conversations like this, you're not gonna seek it out. But I just wanted to say that because loneliness is such a killer.
Next question, actually, for Michael. I'll just, yeah. So you mentioned family, right? Your wife and growing up. So what's one thing, or how do you model mental health and wellness practices for your kids? Right, in your family, like what are some of the things that you do? Because you talked about, you know, your wife being there as a source of support, and you know what I think a lot of people experience when they were kids. You know, rub some dirt on it. How do you model it in your day-to-day life?
I mean, when I first had a kid, I remember I'm in my wife is delivering, and she notices, I'm doing stuff that's, she usually wouldn't see me doing. I don't know, wiping her butt or something, because, just blood or something, anything's going, but she wouldn't expect that to come from me. And I said it earlier, like I learned so much from her, but I also learned how not to be a dad from my experience of growing up. So we always sit down with our own kids and making sure that, they have a shoulder to lean on, especially their parents. My son's he's a 4-year-old, and, he holds all that in all day. So, I gotta be the comfort person when he gets home at 4 o'clock. Of course, he's gonna act like crazy because he's been holding everything in. But the fact that I'm able to be there for him makes me feel better inside, and I know that I'm giving him what exactly he needs. I didn't get that. I know that's what I wanted, or I could have benefited from it when I was younger.
Next question is for you, Antwan. So we talked a little bit about, these all relate into the concepts around masculinity, right? And how impactful that has been from a mental health perspective. What are some of the challenges that are sort of unique that you're seeing or have seen around that topic of masculinity and mental health?
So that's a very good question. Two things that come to mind. For our younger generation, I think about social media and how that plays a key role in how the idea of masculinity is being presented. There's a term that we call it, you all may have heard, toxic masculinity, but in clinical law we call it hegemonic masculinity. And this idea that as a man, or masculinity itself is dominant versus coexisting with others. From an older generation standpoint, what I notice is we tend to look at what our parents taught us, and we can fall into that trap if we don't question it. If we don't think about the idea of expressing oneself, or that for a man, being a man and being masculine is not being vulnerable. It's keeping things in. It's being strong for everybody. Well, at some point, that man breaks down. And at what point does that person seek help? At what point does that person start to lean on other people? Part of the conversation we're having today is to recognize that within ourselves and to support one another. Normalize that conversation with your peers and each other. So, something you mentioned I thought was very pivotal, which is, my 7-year-old son, whenever he gets upset, he can express it. Because if he holds that in, that can be anger that's taken out later. And the last thing I want is for my son not to know how to express himself. While he's in my home, my job is to teach him how to be a man. And part of being a man is being a well, all-around man and supporting each other.
So, obviously when things go wrong, the way you're talking about, right, that has ripple effects, right? Fredrick, you've done work in a lot of different places, right? Education, corporate, community sector. What are the differences that you notice around mental health prioritized across these different spaces, and how do we improve them?
Great question. I think at the forefront, we always think about our success, right? We're going to be a vice president, or we're going to be a CEO, or we're going to run this company, and we're going to grow it to the next level, and all of that stuff, right? What I learned in my younger career as a black man is that a lot of the white dudes around me, they were getting mental health support. They were in the corporate world, and the corporate world was teaching them that they needed to do this training, that training, do this assessment about yourself, all of those different things. I was missing out on this. Right? But once I learned it, and once I was willing to even learn it more, that's what I pushed out to any community organization I was involved in, any corporate entity I was involved with. We all did book studies. Like we did stuff like Who Moved My Cheese, and just a lot of different books that drove and made you think about what you were doing and how you were going about your business as a person. It's very, very important of any type of business that you're involved in is that you make sure that mental capacity, mental stability, mental growth is an input into whatever factor you're doing, and talk about people about it, right? Talk about this to other people within the organization, especially if they're black men, right? Because we got this huge challenge that we're always bouncing up against. It's always, like you were talking about, when you get this stuff, or just meet, and sometimes again that stuff's traumatizing, right? And even in these corporate, and even if you're in a nonprofit or whatever, and I was talking to Chris about this. Hey, you know what? You get a job, and you get this great job, and you got to work, and you got this ideology that I'm do all these things about the job, right? Then all of a sudden you're blindsided by someone who don't like you. And what you got to be prepared to do is deal with that situation mentally, not necessarily that you're going to act out, right? And that is, do you know what you're supposed to do when you run into those situations? Do you know, have you talked to anyone about those situations that are capable of understanding where you're going and then giving you that direct input, right? Not just, calling somebody and complaining, but someone telling you how to deal with the situation. That stuff's so important across all sectors of business. And make sure that you as a person, you're interjecting that or asking the questions. Is there some mental health support? Here's some support for me. That's extremely important.
So now I want to nerd out a little bit on some science. In my world, right, in the financial stress space, we talk a lot about the concept of financial toxicity. Right? And for those who don't know, financial toxicity is basically if you're stressed about money, you actually heal worse from various conditions than people who aren't stressed about money. It actually impacts your ability to heal, right? So talk a little bit about, from a broader perspective, about the impact of mental health on outcomes, either in surgery or just generally from a health perspective. So people get a really good sense of what the impact is and how broad it impacts.
Yeah, I think, going back to what I was saying before about the epidemic of loneliness, everything, being in states of fight or flight, when you're in a toxic work environment, when you are stressed because the credit card people are calling you every 3 hours trying to get their money, when you can't pay your mortgage, when you have stress with you have stuff going on with your family, whatever is going on, you're in a fight or flight state. We're supposed to be in fight or flight when we're running from the tiger, right? You guys see that. Other than that, you want to be in these calm, meditative states. What does that do on a scientific basis? When you're in fight or flight, your catecholamines, your adrenaline, or just to use a lay term, is high. Your cortisol levels are high. That actually changes the way all the hormones in your body are released. It decreases your testosterone level. It affects every system, making everything that we're trying to treat from a medical standpoint much harder to deal with. So if you talk about cardiac disease, people say people die of a broken heart. It's true. You could really legitimately die of a broken heart, right? Somebody's spouse dies and then the person dies 5 days later because they're in a fight or flight stage. Like they're literally being chased by the tiger 24/7. And you can't take it and you get sick, but it does everything. It makes your diabetes worse, your blood pressure is worse. Everything is worse. And so if you look at studies, just for example, when we talked about the loneliness thing and having support and being in a good place, let's just say you had a heart surgery. It's very well known people recover much better after a heart attack and having a heart surgery if they have loving people around them, if they have a support system, a social network. This has been studied extensively, rather than people that feel alone or they don't have something or they're really in a bad situation or they have other stuff going on. They just don't recover as well. I'm a spine surgeon, so I see that across the board in spine, in spine world. So what do we do? What do we do about it? We could say, just fix it, do something. We need to figure out on an individual basis how to get you guys in that parasympathetic state or that calm state. And I talk about this a lot in a lot of social media and other things that I do. Then you're actually exuding the hormones of love, like oxytocin, dopamine. You know what dopamine is? You get the dopamine hit when you're clicking that social media thing, but the natural dopamine just from being happy because you don't have You know, you're getting out of your financial things. You know, your boss is getting off your back. Whatever it is, you get into these calm states. But there are things that we can do. And so things that we talk about, you know, all the time, and I mentioned it before, meditation. How many of you guys meditate in here? That's amazing. That's like one of the highest numbers that I've seen from whatever. Breath work, positive mantras, yoga, those kinds of things. The things that are not taught, it's amazing. It can get you into those deep moods. And then there's all this, again, I don't want to get into all the science of biohacking, but there's all these things you do, red light therapy, oxygen therapy, all these things can get us in calm states. There's actually, anybody do programs at night that can relax you and put you into those states? Anybody? So I just tell you what I use, and we can move on. There's a program called NewCom. It's been studied in the military. And there are these beats. They're different kind of music and stuff, and it can put you into a deep state of calm. So it really can relax. So if you do a little meditation and you do NewCom, it gets you into those states. And believe it or not, when you're in a positive, you know, mood like that, then you know what? You can figure out your problems. You can figure out, how do I get out of this situation? How do I deal with the fact that that guy, you know, tried to ruin my career? You know, how do I deal with the fact that I'm the only one, or whatever it is? You could deal with that if you're confident. If you're, you know, if you're just so nervous and so racked up and you're constantly in that state, it's very difficult to deal with the trauma. And maybe down there, you know, playing in the NFL, one of the things I'm real passionate about is how concussion, you know, leads to long-standing PTSD and all these other things. And I don't know if you had it, but that can definitely impact mental health.
That's actually a great transition, because I wanted to ask Michael, you know, all of us have gone through, you know, significant transitions in our lives, right? And some people may be going through right now. It could be a career change, it could be a change at home, you know, all kinds of changes. You've gone through, obviously, and we talked a little bit about this before, you know, the event started. You know, you've gone through and you've seen some of your teammates go through significant changes upon retirement. Talk a little bit about, you know, how you handle that from a mental health perspective, and maybe some advice for people who are going through changes, big or small, and how they can kind of help deal with that.
So I retired in 2020 playing football, and I took 3 years off. It was my first time not training, not playing any sports since maybe I was in 5th grade. I always trained every single summer, and I never had a spring break. I always been going to train. But I do have a lot of friends, you know, I feel like they haven't really seen, you know, the capabilities of what they can do beyond football. I always knew that I always wanted to be around people. I never could be in a cubicle. It's just not me. I need to talk to people, and I mean, just hang out and enjoy life. I can't enjoy life being in a cubicle. But I think from some of the background I'm from, a lot of guys come from the NFL. They can they can still spend money the way they did when, you know, $300,000 checks are coming in, you know, every week. That's for some people. Sometimes it's usually $20-something, something like that. But once you get out of the league, you know, your whole life has to change, because them checks aren't coming in anymore. You know, and if you don't realize that, you're gonna go into having mental issues. For example, I had a guy on my team. He was a rookie, got his rookie contract. In April to August, it was gone. He didn't know what to do. He had no money left. We had to borrow him money, but like, it's crazy that kind of stuff happens, but the people don't have the right people around them to show them in the right directions. But I would say also that it's never too late to make a career change. I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do. I was playing pickup basketball one day, and I was with a whole bunch of investors in real estate and realtors. They was like, Mike, you should get into real estate. And I was like, I don't know. Because at one point I was thinking, you know, I'm going to play football and never work again. My wife said I can't golf every day. But I said to myself, too, there's more to me than football. And real estate, as I see it, is just another way of helping me. You know, especially if someone's trying to, for example, you know, you're trying to make 50 grand on your house. Well, why would I take 6% from this guy when, you know, I don't really, you know, I'm just here to help somebody. Yes, it's a bonus to make money off of it, but like, I really want to help because he's always going to come back to me. But from a team, I think, you know, mental health is something that's serious, especially for my profession, that I really try to reach out to many of these guys as I can, because you just never know what kind of mindset someone's in. And if I can be there to help anybody, I'm there.
That's another great segue. You talk about, you know, giving back and being able to be helpful to the people you're doing work with. Fredrick, I want to ask you, so volunteering has obviously been a big part of your life. How has giving back to the community kind of positively impacted you from a mental health perspective?
First, I want to say this is not a dress rehearsal, right? And sometimes we take life and we treat it like it's a dress rehearsal. We think we're going to exit stage left and then come back onto the stage and do something different, right? This is real. You know, if you don't take care of your mental health, right, it can really affect the things around you. And a lot of times people wonder, oh yeah, well this person's doing that to me, or that person's doing this to me, or whatever, right? A lot of the times it's us because we haven't dealt with our stuff, right? And I'm just telling you right now, make sure you deal with your stuff. Because you have to. Because it's important, not only to you, but to others that are around you. To be serious about it. So for me, volunteering, I can tell you guys a funny situation. So as I share with you guys, I had to go through therapy and, you know, all that stuff, right? So, you know, I'm like, thinking I got all the answers, all of this stuff, right? And so my therapist says, hey, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to Sharing and Caring Hands, and I want you to volunteer there. Not for 1 year, but 2, right? So I went to Sharing and Caring Hands, I met Mary, I started volunteering there, and oh my God, it was such an eye-opener. Number one, for me to get out of myself, right? I start helping other people and understanding other people's issues, right? And then reversing that back to myself. So now, after going through this 2 years of volunteering, I was able to deal with myself. I was able to look at myself in a different light because I knew that I had way more, or I was able to deal with more because I was able to give, right? And so as far as volunteering or getting out and supporting people out in the world, it's a huge, huge act of kindness, but it's a huge, huge benefit to you mentally. Because you develop these relationships. Again, you get out of yourself and start talking about stuff with people, and a lot of that stuff reflects back to you as well, right? Of things that you need to do. So volunteering is extremely important. The other part of that is, do the work as you volunteer. It requires the work of you understanding what you're doing, right? It wasn't just showing up there. I had to report back. What did I learn? What did I know? Who do I talk to? And it just started that routine for me to start thinking about these things and thinking about others and thinking about myself in a different light. It's really important, whatever you do, to do the work. You got to do the work, whether you're reading a book, seeing a therapist, or whatever. But do that. As you're volunteering with people or getting into these organizations, you'll be able to see so much more beyond yourself. Instead of, you know, sitting on like, I was like, well, you know, poor me, poor this. And I did. I had somebody trying to screw up my life, right? And at that point, I was like, oh man, you know, I took on that responsibility and I wasn't prepared to deal with the situation mentally. And as I, you know, learned, I was able to do that along with get out and help other people. So volunteering is huge.
So Fredrick talked about turning outward, right, as a means to better turn inward. And so let's talk about self-actualization. Because one of the things that's going to happen is people start to dig more into this. Is they're going to hear terms they might not be necessarily familiar with. It's good to have somebody who knows it well to help people understand.
So, self-actualization. The quickest and easiest way to look at self-actualization is what is your full potential? Now, that's a golden statement. What is it that you're here to do? There's a good book, if you ever get a chance. A book called What Life Could Mean to You. And it aligns with Steven's sharing, which is part of the mental illness aspect is being self-indulged, focusing only on what's going on within you, and looking at yourself with the mantra of why me. Life is going to have curveballs. And part of that curveball is how do we adjust? Part of being mentally healthy and reaching self-actualization is being able to adjust, being able to pivot in life. When you get thrown a curveball, how do you adjust? So self-actualization is that ability to create meaning out of life. And in order to create meaning out of life is really understanding what is life for you and how do you reach there? What is your goals? So people who may experience mental illness get boggled down with what's going on within them and don't really recognize what are the goals, what they're striving for. And in that journey, they may strive for self-actualization in an unhealthy way. And that unhealthy way may come in the form of putting other people down. My success comes at the expense of other people. And the more I put other people down, the more I'm on top. Well, self-actualization isn't that. That's compensating. True self-actualization is really focusing on how can you be the better you while making those around you better. And in order to do that, we have to really do the work within ourselves. Recognize what's going on within us. Acknowledge that. And be able to be willing to reach out.
All right, so this is going to be the hardest and last question for the group. One thing, one practice, right? Because we want people to walk away with actual things, steps they can take. One action, one practice that you would say people here can, start doing or take the first step with to help improve mental health. Yeah, you go. Who wants to go first?
One step, one action.
I'm already talking about meditation, so I'm not gonna, and half of you guys meditate anywhere, which is pretty amazing. I think if you just had to take one step, a lot has been said up here. I love what you said about getting outside of yourself. It's really important. So many people are so absorbed in the thing, including when you're in pain or you're going through your own medical thing, you're absorbed in your stuff. But if I could tell you one thing, because I'm supposed to be this biohack guy, if you could do one thing, I would say that the one thing to do would be to make getting in red light therapy as part of your daily habit. I do it every single day. I could talk for another 2 hours about the benefits of red light therapy and what it does to your whole body. But what it does to your brain, what it does to your mind, it actually can reestablish the connections between the brain cells. And it has been shown in every single mental health disorder to improve. ADHD, depression, anxiety, you name it. Red light therapy, if you can incorporate that, I'll just give you that as the one thing.
Let's go next. One action.
That's hard. That's really hard.
I don't know if I can do one action, but I would just say never stop growing and learning. You think you might know it all, and there's someone also out there that knows more. So if you can get around people that you can learn from and be better, I mean, that only helps you get better in life and get better at whatever you're doing, to be great at. I was fortunate enough to be around some great guys when I was playing. Being a rookie and then following one of the best guys who ever played my position, been in it for 10 years. That's someone who I follow. That's someone who I see how he wins every single day and how he, it's crazy how someone can last 17 years playing in the NFL. So there's a reason why he did this. He took care of his body and, you know, ate right, but I try to practice that and mimic. And I would also say just, going off of what you said, that like, every single day, for me mentally, I work up at 5 o'clock. And 5:30, I have an appointment to get in the cold tub for 10 minutes, and I go 20 minutes. 10 minutes and 20 minutes, sauna back and forth, every single day. And if I don't have that, mentally, I'm not the best. I can't be the best for my family. So I gotta have that. But also, what I have to add, if my wife don't let me golf, I'm telling you right now, like when I get my 4 hours of golf, I don't stay after. I just want my 4 hours. I'm a better dad and better husband. That's me. Yeah.
We won't even count that second one.
The one thing I recommend to you, there's a book called Play to Win, and it was written by Larry Wilson from Wilson Learning. But this book is amazing. It breaks down all of the black boxes we got in our heads about things, and it makes you step outside of yourself, right? And challenge yourself to move outside of yourself to learn more about yourself, right? And so I recommend that book. It has changed my life tremendously because here's just one thing I'll tell you. It's called Stop, Challenge, and Choose. And so if I meet someone new, right? Normally what I do is I'm shaking their face, I'm seeing how they're looking because I'm trying to put them in a place, right? What that did is it caused me not to get to know that human being. So I stopped doing that, right? And I challenged myself to open how I receive that person, right? And I challenged myself from going off on these thoughts as I'm looking that person in the eye or I'm talking to that person and I'm off on some other tangent thinking about who that person is, right? So that challenge, right? And then I chose. You can choose to be open, to be right there. I mean, present with that human being. Try it. It's harder than you think, right? Without you going off on some black box in your head about who that person is. They look like Joey or Bowie or whoever, right? Get the book. Play to Win by Larry Wilson, and telling you to break down a lot of the stuff that we have in our heads about who we think we are and what we think we know.
And thank you all for sharing that. When I end my sessions with my clients, one thing I'll often say is, this is a homework assignment. What I challenge you all to do, and you can look this up, it's called the Will of Wellness. There's 8 dimensions to it. Part of it is physical health, spiritual health, social life, financial health. Do that for yourself. Look at that will. See what areas you may be deficient in or areas you want to improve in. Also recognize areas that you're trying to compensate for. Because when we neglect one area, that eventually will come back to us. In the society, life has a way of bringing that to us. So we can't avoid everything. The second thing I have to say is,
About health?
no, that's part of it. Support system. Identify what your support system is. Me and my friends, we have a group chat. We'll text each other. How's your mental health? That's pivotal. That's critical. Have those check-ins. Because maybe today I'm doing fine. I don't know if one of my other friends maybe encounters something at work or something that's really digging at me. And sometimes asking that question pulls that out of somebody. And you never know what can come out of it. But having that support system is vital for you. I think that's the most important piece. So if you haven't identified a support system, do so. It could be your friends, it could be your partner, it could be old classmates, it could be anybody. But normalize that conversation with your peers.
Can I just throw one in since they all got? I mean, everybody else got 2, so as we're wrapping it up
You
before we
remember
go.
Floyd?
Everything these guys said, I mean, it's amazing, but it made me think of one thing overarching, because I tried to play the game fair by just giving, the one thing, but But what I want to say is I almost want to take that back, because that is like a specific, like one thing that you can do, but an overall thing, the number one thing you guys need to do as far as your mental health and physical health is educate yourself through all kinds of means, through different mentalities, different worlds of thought, different stuff. I just want to give an example. I have my partner, one of my partners in the room, Tram. You can raise your hand. So, listen, I'm a physician. I was in practice for a long time. And like many doctors, I thought I kind of knew, not that I knew everything, but I was like, oh, I know wellness, I know health, I know all this other stuff. And I met Tram when my son got injured, and he's treated Viking, all kinds of people. And he brought to me all these new things that initially I was resistant to, but now I've recommended these biohacking options now to hundreds, if not thousands of people. You know, if you count like my social media and pocket, everything, you just have to keep an open mind. And remember, even I'm a physician. I talk to doctors all the time. I went to med school. I've treated patients for a long time. There's so much I didn't know. There's so much I don't know now, and you just need to educate yourselves, because 90% of the sickness that we have out here is preventable.
Absolutely.
It's preventable. Don't let anybody else say diabetes is not normal. All these things, they're not normal. It's not a normal human condition. And so opening up our minds, no matter who we are, what walk of life are, and continually educating ourselves, that is the key. And the tagline that I got from this woman, Margaret, that I use now constantly is, you need to be the CEO of your own health. Don't rely on other people. Rely on yourselves.
Round of applause for the parents. I think it's time to hit some golf balls.